What's good, you guys? UFC Fight Night Cannonier versus Imavov is taking place in Louisville, Kentucky on Saturday, June 8th. And I'm about to be going through all of the picks for this card. Hopefully, the prelims will be better than the prelims on 302, which didn't end in any knockouts. I'm trying to see some people go to sleep, so let's get right into the picks. To start, okay, so we got a woman fight to start. I guess I will make a prediction here. It's going to be Pooja Tomar versus Ryan Amanda. WMMA is like, we're all just going to be itching our nuts at this point, honestly. Like, I hate whenever these cards start with like WMMA fights, to be honest. I'm not really the biggest fan of WMMA in general, but fucking Ryan Amanda. I'm going to go with Ryan Amanda here just because women fighters, if they actually have decent aptitude in grappling, they're likely gonna win over a person, especially if this woman fighter fancies herself like, you know, a pure striker, as I do see that Pooja Tomar has. She has a fight in one championship against this girl who just grappled her, and she looked kind of silly in that fight, so I can't pick Pooja Tomar off the strength of that alone. So I'm going to go with Ryan Amanda here for the first fight. The second fight, Taylor Lapilus versus Cody Stamann. Cody Stamann has been an infinity stone for a lot of good fighters to collect and move up the rankings through beating him. And I kind of want to pick him against Taylor Lapilus, who kind of stinks a little bit. His fight against the one of the Basharat brothers, it was really stinky on both sides, but he was just getting wrestled basically. But Cody Stamann, he's not on the same level in as far as grappling goes as say like someone like Farid Basharat. So it's hard to pick Cody Stamann, especially since he does lose a lot of fights against guys who aren't like trash, you know? If you are like decently skilled, Cody Stamann isn't really like a hard fight to win. So Taylor Lapilus probably a safe pick, but strength of scheduling, Cody Stamann definitely has him there. Cody Stamann is just, he's 34 and he has taken quite a bit of damage, honestly. Like, he's been like knocked out and submitted in a lot of fights. Taylor Lapilus, 2 years younger, which does make a difference at one of these lighter weight classes, I guess. He doesn't look like complete garbage as well. He got a nice win over the Conor McGregor wannabe in his debut, and he looked decent against that guy. But he did stink it up against Basharat. Cody Stamann isn't as good as Farid Basharat, so Lapilus probably is going to win this fight. Moving on, another WMA fight. Honestly, like, it's so hard to predict these, but I'm just going to have to go with Eduarda Moura here. 10-0 record. She beat up this one girl named Montserrat Ruiz. And she looked pretty buff in that fight, Eduarda Moura. And this Montserrat Ruiz girl, she has like some goofy like clown tattoos all over her and stuff. And she looked like garbage in that fight. I think off the strength of just her like physical attributes, and again, the grappling, I'm going to have to go with Eduarda Moura here. But, I mean, it's WMMA, bro. Like, I'm not about to get super, like, deep and analytical about this fight. Like, I can't. It's WMMA. Daniel Marcos versus John Castaneda. John Castaneda is, like, he's got a chin and he's durable, but I don't think that he has the grappling or the striking to deal with a test like Daniel Marcos, because Daniel Marcos had a good fight with Davy Grant. People said he got like that he robbed Davy Grant in the fight, which, I mean, if I do remember it correctly, it was a very close decision, and it was probably a fight that should have been scored for Davy Grant as well. But the fact that he even made it close against a certified striker like Davy Grant and a finisher like Davy Grant, I think that shows promise for him in this fight. He's also 15-0. I don't think that Castaneda is going to be the one to give this guy his first loss. or he might get wrestled. I don't really know, but I'm gonna lean Daniel Marcos here, just off of the fact that his wins are higher quality than John Castaneda's wins, and he has no losses yet. Next fight, Andrea Lee versus Montana De La Rosa. Andrea Lee is going to be the pick here. I'm going with the American Andrea Lee. Montana De La Rosa. Let me just start by saying, like, these women records are like, ooh, both of these girls' records are so bad, dude, and they've just been doing nothing but losing in their last fights. But still, Andrea Lee, she looks a bit more physically gifted than Montana De La Rosa. I think that's going to count for something. But again, WMMA fight, I'm glad this is the last one that I have to pick for, because, like, dude, like, I really don't know what you guys want me to say here. Like, what, I don't know. It's a WMMA fight. Going around to the next one, Brad Katona versus Jesse Butler. Jesse Butler is a Jim Miller victim, and he got knocked out in 30 seconds of the first round in their fight, and it was really funny, dude. And Jim Miller, like, he had been getting a lot of finishes, like, and that's probably like his best win, honestly, from just like the way the highlight looks. Jim Miller, and like recently, I think that might have been Mullet Jim Miller too, bro. Mythical fighter Mullet Jim Miller. He's going down to bantamweight from lightweight, Jesse Butler, this time around, and he's gonna be fighting Brad Katona, who, like, two-time tough winner. I knew about Brad Katona just because I knew that he had won the Ultimate Fighter season with McGregor and Chandler. Rest in peace, McGregor, Chandler. And Brad Katona sucks, dude. He literally had a close fight with what is he, like, Cody Gibson, I think his name. This guy literally is a freaking elementary school teacher or something, dude. He's like an elementary school or middle school teacher. And this man, Brad Katona, had a close fight with him, and he got punked by Garrett Armfield in his last fight, bro. So I can't, in good faith, pick Brad Katona. I was honestly riding high on him going into his fight with Cody Gibson, and it was a pretty good scrap, but Cody Gibson hasn't really been looking great in his last fights either. Brad Katona had a close fight with him, and he got schooled by Garrett Armfield. So we're gonna go with Jesse Butler here. Jesse Butler is 5'10". He's a bigger bantamweight. He's probably undersized for lightweight, but he's gonna be a big bantamweight. And if he has any power at all, I think that he'll be able to have success against Brad Katona and might even get a finish. So we're gonna go with Jesse Butler here. He'll win by he'll knock out Brad Katona. I'm not sure what round, but he'll knock out Brad Katona, sure. And then going up the card, we'll see Charles Radke fight Carlos Prates. Charles Radke was the guy who called all of the Australian fans a gamer word on the Sean Strickland Adesanya card. That was funny. And I like Charles Radke off the strength of that moment, because I thought that was a funny moment. But if we're getting real, I don't think that he's going to beat Carlos Prates. Carlos Prates, he has a win over Trevin Giles. And not only is it a win, it's a knockout win. In the second round, he beat Trevin Giles. And that's a good win. That's a really good win. This guy, Charles Radke, he went to a close decision with Blood Diamond. I mean, he had won the fight, but it was, like, grueling. They both were gassed, and they just looked super bad. Like, Gilbert Urbina is not a very good quality win to have. And that's something else that I'm weighing as well, but mainly just because of the Blood Diamond fight. The Blood Diamond fight is what's going to make me pick Carlos Prates here. Carlos Prates is going to win this fight. He has that good win over Trevin Giles. I think that it's more likely that he gets something going than Charles Radke stinking it up to a decision win. Anyways, Thiago Moises versus Ludovic Klein. Ludovic Klein is definitely going to be the pick that I'm going with here. Thiago Moises, he's coming off of a win. He got like a leg kick TKO, and that was cool. But largely, if you have power and you start beating up Thiago Moises, it's pretty easy to mog him. So I think that Ludovic Klein, he beat Ignacio Bahamondes in a fight. and that's a really good win. And his last fight against AJ Cunningham, he beat that guy as well. He TKO'd him. It was a front kick to the body. I think that a safer pick here is going to be Ludovic Klein over Thiago Moises, who is kind of over the hill, has been around for a while, has fought some really skilled competition, but like I said before, he's just gotten mobbed by everyone that he's fought, so I'm gonna have to take Ludovic Klein here. Punahele Soriano and Miguel Baeza. Speaking of a guy who's been getting mobbed lately, dude, I really liked Punahele Soriano when he first was new into the UFC. He was winning and stuff. He was beating up dudes like Dusko Todorovic. He was just a prelims like baller, dude. Like whenever Punahele Soriano was on a prelim, you knew that was finna be a good fight. And then he fights Brendan Allen and loses a decision. Then he fights Nick Maximov. That's the guy out of the Nate Diaz camp who's like pretty soy looking. He beats Punahele Soriano. Again, by a decision. It was split, but it was by a decision. He beats Dr. Lugambulia, another overhand win. Like, we need to see Punahele Soriano land an overhand here in order for him to win the fight. Like, if that overhand doesn't land for Punahele Soriano, it's going to be a long night for him. And he just lost to Dustin Stoltzfus. I don't think that this is a good matchup for Punahele Soriano. Even though Miguel Baeza has been inactive for a little bit, he's a very explosive and measured striker, and his grappling isn't too bad as well. He's been getting knocked out a couple of times in his fights, you know, pretty recently, but I trust him to get this done over Punahele Soriano, who only really has that overhand to lean on as far as like a viable weapon for this fight. I think that the measuredness and range control of Miguel Baeza is going to prevent him from getting hit flush with that Punahele Soriano overhand, and that's just going to be the story of the fight, him trying to close him off on the cage and not being able to do so successfully. Julian Marquez versus Zach Reese. Julian Marquez, man, this guy fumbled the craziest bag with Miley Cyrus, bro. All he had to do was shave his chest or something. He could literally shave it off, and he got to go on a date with Miley Cyrus, and then he asked her to do something really dumb in response. Like, so that's his like 15 minutes of fame. Zach Reese's 15 minutes of fame was getting dropped on his head by Cody Brundage. It was an armbar or triangle or something Zach Reese went for against Cody Brundage, and he ended up getting dropped on his head, and that was a TKO loss for him. I think that might have been his last outing in the octagon as well. It was. And he's going to be facing off against Julian Marquez, who his best wins are against like Darren Stewart and Sam Alvey, bro, and like Phil Hawes. This guy has lost to Barack Obama, Gregory Rodriguez, and Marc-Andre Barrio, which, I mean, not horrible losses, but this guy's been getting finished a lot. Zach Reese is a grappling heavy style. I mean, if Cody Brundage didn't pick him up and drop him on his head, he might have gotten subbed or just controlled for the rest of the round in that fight. Zach Reese is going to be the better pick here. I think that he'll be able to employ grappling on Julian Marquez, and Julian Marquez is just going to probably try to stink it up. Maybe he'll gas. And that'll be the matchup there. Going up the card again, this is going to be a fun fight here. Dustin Stoltzfus versus Bruno Ferreira. Bruno Ferreira, I just mentioned Barack Obama, Gregory Rodriguez. Gregory Rodriguez is a Bruno Ferreira victim, dude. I was high on Gregory Rodriguez, bro. His name is the RoboCop. He got hurt really badly, got that nasty cut on his eyebrow ridge, and then still fought to a decision win against a guy who, I forgot who that was, but I was like, dude, RoboCop is sick, dude. I'm a Gregory Rodriguez fanboy. All the way up until he gets match made with Bruno Ferreira, and he gets flatline KO'd. So Bruno Ferreira has some punch power on him, and that's pretty sick. Dustin Stoltzfus, coming off of a win to Punahele Soriano, has lost, though, to Abus Magomedov and is a Gerald Meerschaert victim. So I don't like that for him in this fight against a Brazilian with lots of punch power. I don't really like the fact that Bruno Ferreira has lost to Nursultan Rozaboev either, to be honest, because as we know now, after his fight with Buckley, he could be better. I'm not going to say he's like horrible, but he could definitely be better. Joaquin Buckley is pretty good at fighting, so I mean, to lose to him at this point is probably not the worst thing for you, but I would like to think that if you are like super elite, that you would beat a fighter like Joaquin Buckley. So the loss to Nur Sultan, it's not very good, but I do rate his knockout wins. He knocked out Phil Hawes in the first round, which is like what you're supposed to do if you are like a serious striker in the 185 division, so I can't hate on that. I think that he does beat Dustin Stoltzfus, who probably is just gonna probably crap himself, and it's not gonna be very fun fight other than the finish. If you're a Dustin Stoltzfus fan, I don't know what to tell you, man. It's not gonna be a good one. Raul Rosas Jr. versus Ricky Tercios. Ricky Tercios is the cringe lord. He gets on the mic and starts welling off about some absolute nonsense. Starts talking about world peace. I remember that was his gimmick whenever he'd won tough. He went on some like super long, drawn out monologue, and it was really cringe. But it got him fans because he was like compelling whenever he was speaking. He lost to Ayman Zahabi. I always lock in for Ayman Zahabi fights because one of the first minds of the sport that I listened to was Firas Zahabi, just because of GSP's coach at one point. So Ayman Zahabi, whenever he fights, I always look for the TriStar MMA guys in his corner, and I'm always locked into the performances that he puts on. He beat up Ricky Tercios, and Ricky Tercios looked so bad in that fight. So I think that Raul Rosas Jr., his only like real asterisk next to his game was, you know, his striking, which he seems to have worked out some of the kinks with since he had finished his last fight in TKO. He beat up Terrence Mitchell, and that was pretty cool. But his loss to Christian Rodriguez was a bit underwhelming. Christian Rodriguez, though, has really only done nothing but win, you know, since then. So he's even beaten Cameron Simon, which honestly, that's a pretty quality win. I know that Peyton Talbot made it look really easy, but that's not bad. So I don't think that this loss is necessarily a horrible thing for Raul Rosas Jr., and it's surely not going to be something that's going to discourage me from taking him in this pick. I think that he's going to beat the crap out of Ricky Tercios. Likely will finish that fight. I just can't say which round. Speaking of fights that are going to end in finish as well, Dominic Reyes versus Dustin Jacoby. Just looking at Dustin Jacoby, you would never guess that this guy literally had a fight with Alex Pereira and Glory Kickboxing, bro, and that he was like a great fighter in that promotion. I would have never guessed. People were talking about, you know, like Roman Kopylov versus Cesar Almeida on the UFC 302 card, and they were like, you know, great fighters and Glory Kickboxer may be they may rate as high as, you know, UFC fighters as far as like the striking department goes, and like the smaller gloves and stuff, it's not really gonna matter as much if you're an elite striker in Glory Kickboxing. You have examples like Alex Pereira, but Alex Pereira is just an outlier, I feel like, to be honest, because you got like Cesar Almeida, you got this guy Dustin Jacoby, who's like, he's good, but I don't think that he is great. His record surely doesn't reflect that either, but I mean, quality of wins. Lately, Dustin Jacoby has been losing a bit, to be honest. Just lost a decision to Alonzo Minifield. Azamat Mirzakhanov, Khalil Roundtree. These are kind of silly losses, I won't lie. He did beat Kennedy and Zechiku pretty badly, though, in the first round of their fight, which is something that I rate. But the thing is, though, this is kind of like a default pick, because I'm not going to pick Dominic Reyes, bro. Dominic Reyes got knocked out by a Ryan Spann jab, and that is so crazy. After we saw what happened to Ryan Spann in his last fight, dude, what a fall from grace that guy has had. It's pretty sad to note like what happened in his career after he literally beat the greatest fighter in the sport. Currently, let Dana White tell it. But anyways, I can't pick Dominic Reyes. He's gonna need to like reinvent himself here if he's not just gonna come out and flatline him, which I just don't think is probable at all. He's going to need to probably rely on some form of grappling so that he doesn't take a ton of damage or get knocked out again. So Dustin Jacoby is going to be more willing to just stand there and trade, and he's probably going to touch Dominic Reyes' chin and hurt him. So Dustin Jacoby in that fight. Nasruddin Imavov versus Jared Cannonier. This is the main event. You know what's kind of silly is I usually look at the card details on Google, and for this week, the fight night has this week and next week's fight night card listed as part of the same pay-per-view. So I thought that we were getting I think next week it's like Andre Muniz is fighting, as well as Alex Perez and Tatsuro Taira. And I thought that was happening on Saturday, and I was getting like really excited that we were gonna get Jared Cannonier and then that super sick flyweight fight, because Alex Perez is just off of a win recently, so I was excited for that. But Jared Cannonier versus Nassourdine Imavov. Nassourdine. He's part of that tribe of the fighters from that Dagestan region who are just kind of they're not very good. Him, Abus, there's probably some other guys in the lower weight classes. You could argue maybe the Basharat bros as well. They just kind of, they can make ends meet against like not very good fighters, but I feel like Jared Cannonier, even though he is getting up there in age too, he's competent enough to make sure that he doesn't get humiliated by Nassourdine Imavov. Nassourdine Imavov, he has good kicks and he moves well in the first round, but he always ends up gassing out. Jared Cannonier's cardio in his last fight looked really good against Marvin Vettori, where he just stood in front of him chest to chest and just beat the crap out of him for like 25 minutes and set a striking record. I can't not take Jared Cannonier here. It just depends, like how high do you rate win over Roman Dolidze? I don't really, to be honest. The striking on Roman Dolidze is pretty silly, and he's lost to Sean Strickland because he gassed out. I think that it'll probably happen this time. Like, you give this guy a 5-round fight, like, I don't think that he's gonna make it into round 3 against Jared Cannonier. Hopefully we get a crazy Jared Cannonier knockout. The thing that I've noticed about the 185 division, it is literally the division of fighters who look like they have devastating knockout power and pack none of it. And that is so crazy to me. Why the heck do we have guys in the 185 division like Jared Cannonier, who's come down from light heavyweight, and Paulo Costa, who looks like a bronze statue, and these guys cannot finish fights with punches, dude? This is the craziest thing. I really could see this going to a stinky decision, bro. Just because Jared Cannonier isn't gonna freaking get in there and make it a dog fight with a guy that he knows that he could probably mog, which is insane. But I still got him to take this fight. I think that he's gonna win. It could be a decision. Nassourdine Imavov could just gas out and end up taking a seat in one of the corners of the octagon, just get punched out to a TKO victory for Jared Cannonier. But yeah, we're gonna go with Jared Cannonier. That's gonna be my picks for this fight. Hopefully I got everything right here. The WMMA card, fights on the card, they kind of, they make it a bit harder to predict, but we'll see. I hope that we at least get a good card with lots of knockouts this weekend. That's the best thing I could hope for. So thank you for making it to the very end. You guys, please like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff for the YouTube algorithm, please. It helps me out. We're trying to grow this channel, and I'll catch you in the next one. I'm gonna have more content very soon. Peace.